Probably one of my favorite genres of video games out there is probably the open world driving games. And a lot of people are gonna have different opinions about which one is like the best video game out of all of those. But in my personal opinion, Forza Horizon 2 is probably the best open world driving game of all time. Let's talk about it. I know there's a lot of driving games out there, including like games like GTA, or like there's different ones that are involved, but let's just strictly go down open world driving games. Forza Horizon 2, again, is my personal favorite driving game out of all of them, and the reason is that there's quite a few reasons. It's kind of a mixture between the modern day and also the original Forza Horizon, but why? Like, I'm just gonna say the very first thing which I can start off with is the environment, which the environment is very important when it comes down to actually driving around in games like that. I think one game which actually does it a lot better, but it's not a standalone driving game, is GTA 5, especially with the atmosphere, with how the entire game is. It's a amazing establishment to be able to really go around and actually drive around between like different weather conditions and different locations. It's actually a nice setting. It's a nice setting, but again, not a standalone driving game. This is like the second best because like it's the entire environment is not really just based in a city either. It's kind of based in between the countryside, based in Europe. I mean, it's a beautiful setting. Like, you've got a few places you can go. Like, you got dirt roads, you got like you got the concrete, you got the tarmac, you got all that. You also got a standalone airport you could race on if you really wanted to. Another thing which also makes this game a lot better too is the fact that this is one of the first games where they really let you go open world style, which basically was like, you didn't have as much limitations of where you could drive. You can drive in dirt fields or this, that, and the other a lot better than just driving on a road, unlike the first game where you were kind of just limited to the road. The second reason of why I find this to be the best Forza Horizon game is the car selection, which I'm gonna say that the car selection nowadays is not quite as good as it originally would have been back in like 2014 to 2017, because the biggest limitation with this game are the DLCs, which you can't purchase anymore. You can't purchase the DLCs for Forza Horizon 2. When this game got delisted, the DLCs also got delisted as well, which also meant like any of the car packs or any of the DLCs, including the Furious 7 DLC that was included in Forza Horizon 2, those you can't purchase anymore. You can't purchase those DLCs anymore, which sucks because there are some cars which I actually really want to drive, which on the 360 version of Forza Horizon 2, which I will make some form of another video on that version of the game too, but you can't really go into purchasing them, unlike the 360 version where you can just drive the cars that were locked behind DLCs. The car selection in just on its own is a beautiful step against the other Forza Horizon game, the first one anyway. I mean, the other games have better car selections, but I mean, personally to me, I think this is the best out of all of them. There are some cars which are not included within, either they're not included in other Horizon games, or just they were only included within this version of the game. And it's like, because one car which I really love in this game is the 1990 Chevy Camaro. Like, I love that car to death. I want one of those cars in my life at some point. Another car which I also really like is the Nissan GTR, which, I mean, that's a car which is basically included in all the Forza Horizon games. But man, they did they did an amazing job in this one. Last honorable mention, the 2013 Dodge Viper. Like, that's a beautiful car. It was included on the cover of the very first Forza Horizon game. And that to me is a baseline of one of the best cars in the entire series. They did a very good job in the first one, and then the second one, they actually did an amazing job. They did it better, but I mean, I know it's a Lamborghini on this, but you know, I just like it. Third thing, the music selection in the game. Actually a lot better than you would think, because I honestly, like, the first Forza Horizon game actually did it amazingly. One of my favorite songs from the first game, Farewell to the Fairgrounds from White Lies. Beautifully done song. I know it's not a song that's exclusive to this game, but man, that song is very well done. There are quite a few songs in the second game which I do really enjoy. One of the ones which I do absolutely enjoy is Operations by Jetta. Also another one, Brighter Days by Saint Raymond. Digitalism's Wolves is another song which I really do love in this game. Plus, this version I actually find to be a better version than the original version, since, I mean, this seems like it should have been the original version, but I don't know, maybe it's just me. Depending on where you look for, like, the music in the game, like, some people either turn the radios off or just, like, occasionally change it up. I tend to occasionally change it up because, like, the music in this game is fairly decent. They did a very good job. They also got Chromo in there, which I do enjoy their music a decent bit. Like, I do think that there are some songs which I do wish that were actually included in this, like more 2014 hits more than anything. I know that this is probably like a 2014 exclusive game, but you could have had the Chainsmokers in there. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna let myself out. My main point being, they did a great job on the music selection. And I think the final one that actually, to me, the final, like, reason of why I really like this game, at least in small reasons, the longevity of the game itself. I know there's people who say that the longevity for these open world driving games is not very long because there's not a lot of content you can really do in this, but I would have to disagree. The reason why is I like the idea of being able to just get into a game and drive around for a while, like with the radio station, or just drive around, like having the day and night cycles. Again, I think one of the games which actually does this very well, especially with the content that is included in the game, is GTA 5. But again, it's not a standalone driving game, so I mean, Forza Horizon 2 does it very nicely. It's one of those things where you get the different atmospheres, you get to drive around at fast speeds. You don't have to really worry about a lot, plus you get to gain points for any of the stunts you decide to do in the process, like drifting or the fast speeding. Like, there's a lot more to this game, and sometimes it's just nice to be able to actually just go around in a nice, like, Chevy Camaro, or like any of the cars that are included within this game that you can actually still purchase now to this day. It's one of those things where the longevity of being able to just get into a car and just drive into the sunset, it is beautifully done. Like, it's one of those things where honestly, that's why people like standalone driving games sometimes. It's the idea of being able to get into a car and being able to drive at fast speeds, and if you can actually get a really nice setup, then you can actually enjoy the moment a lot better. Like, it's just, to me, I love that idea of being able to just drive and just, ironically enough, drive by Gosling. I like that feeling of being able to know that I can actually just enjoy the moment of being able to put on a nice song on the radio station and then drive just simply just in a nice little, like, either something that's fairly fast or whatever I feel like it. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's just the feeling of being able to drive. That's what I liked about these games, especially with the second game. Like, the second game to me is the game that I personally find to be the best for that kind of purpose. I mean, you got other games like Forza Horizon, like any of the Forza Horizon games, but like the second one just has the perfect combination between the graphics and the atmosphere, the car selection, the music selection. This feels a lot more natural. This is the very first game that they ever, like the first standalone driving game for the Xbox One, which actually this game is done beautifully. Like, I honestly say that this is like the best game graphically. You could probably complain about it being like, oh, it's not as good as Forza Horizon 5. I'm sorry, it just doesn't look as good. Forza Horizon 2 just seems like it has that perfect combination of actually looking more realistic, and yet it's a 10-year-old game. It's actually more of an 11-year-old game since it came out in 2014. This game is just has that perfect combination of longevity and all that stuff. I do actually really like the Xbox One version, which I will do a tier list update right now before I actually go in and end this video. Forza Horizon 2 is going to B tier. I do like Forza Horizon 2. It's not as good as... So I originally tiered this B tier. I'm gonna put it up in A tier now, since, you know, the Xbox One version is a lot better than the 360 version. So, I mean, yeah, thank you guys for watching this little video, why I find Forza Horizon 2 like the best Forza Horizon game. Comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later when I talk about Sonic. I haven't decided yet. I need to watch the Sonic movies again. Bye!